Hospitality Meets is brought to you by RotaCloud, the simple workforce management software for hospitality teams. RotaCloud lets you create and share rotas, record attendance, and manage your team's annual leave, all in less time than it takes to make a brew. It can also make life easier for your staff, allowing them to check their rotas, request holiday, and even pick up extra shifts, all through the RotaCloud mobile app. Start your 30-day free trial today by visiting rotacloud.com/Phil and find out how much easier managing your team can be. Welcome to Hospitality Meets with me, Phil Street, where each week we take a light-hearted look into the stories and individuals that make up the wonderful world of hospitality. Today's guest is Guillaume Marley, Managing Director of the quite beautiful Café Royal in London. Coming up on today's show, Guillaume gets confused as to who Phil is.
Your Royal Highness, we've done a lot of work, some good work, and we can do what you want us to do.
Phil gets an important question in.
How's the cat?
And Guillaume puts in a strange request.
I want to buy 2 monkeys for my daughter because she saw them on TV.
All that and so much more as Guillaume talks us through his quite extraordinary story so far. Guillaume has had a career that is nothing short of illustrious, having worked in some of London's most recognisable luxury hotels. He's got some wonderful lessons in leadership throughout, and a massive thank you to him for hosting me at the hotel for this chat. Enjoy. And a huge Hospitality Meets welcome to Guillaume Marley.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Very good, thank you so much.
Good.
Welcome.
Thank you. Yes, well, you, for those who are listening, I have been very kindly welcomed to Café Royal, which we will no doubt discuss at some point through the fullness of discussion. But actually, if you could just tell the world what it is that you do here.
So Guillaume Marley, yes, Managing Director at Hotel Café Royal. I've been here 6.5 years, and in that time, a lot of changes, wonderful changes have happened with a wonderful team, but yes, a lot of good work has been done.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, we'll definitely get into that because I think that evolution is a great message in itself in any case for business. And you guys have certainly evolved since it reopened, whenever it was, 2010,
It's 13.
Right.
Late 13, early 14.
Right, yeah. God, time flies, doesn't it? But yeah, well, I mean, before we get into all of that, there's a bit of a journey to get to becoming an MD. You don't just wake up and arrive at MD. So take us all the way back. How did you get into hospitality in the first place?
Sure. Well, actually, it wasn't going to be that particular route to start with. I'm French, obviously, but I've been here for over 30 years now. So I've been in England more than I've been in France.
Right.
All sort of things considered.
Do you dream in French or English?
No, English now.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
My parents sadly consider me as a very English man.
Right.
Although I'm 100% French and proud to be. But no, I think I'm a very anglicized Frenchman for that reason. And I love this country. It's been amazing to me in terms of opportunities and relationships, people and so on. So I'm very grateful.
Yeah.
But originally, I was military. I did the same as Sandhurst in France. So there's a military school called Saint-Cyr, and they prepare young French officers into the French army.
Right.
So this was between the age of 18 to 22. And before that, though, in a couple of summers in Paris, I worked at the Meurice and the Crillon as a young bellboy to make some money to buy myself a Vespa, and that kind of thing in Paris, right? So
as you do.
As you do. So I always also liked hotels from a young age, and my parents and my father worked, for Chanel for many years and some of the biggest haute couture maisons in France, and therefore was lucky enough to be exposed to that luxury 5-star element, entertaining and so on. So it was always in my blood to some extent. So Plan A was the army, Plan B was hotels, and in fact, after my 2 years of military school and my nearly 2 years in the Marines and paratroops for a while,
wow.
I decided when I was 22 to switch back my career to hotels. You have to sign for 10 years then. So I would have been a captain and major maybe at 32 years old. Your life changes then quite dramatically in the sense that you become a lot more administrative potentially. And what I love doing as a young man, which is running around, jumping out of planes, commando stuff, whatever it is fun when you're that age, kind of disappears a little bit towards when you get older. So whilst I enjoyed that army style for 4 years and really loved it, hotels became my thing. I came to England to study hotel business management. I was at Birmingham College of Food for 3 years, did my placement in London at Grosvenor House when it was still a Forte hotel, i.e. Charles Forte hotel, not Rocco Forte. Joined the last management training program of the 40 years, which again I was lucky to do, and then really my journey took off from there in hotels. And I've been in England ever since, really enjoying some of the best hotels in London, in the last 25 plus years.
Yeah. So was that then, you obviously spent a little bit of time in the army or whatever the equivalent is. Was there a moment where you thought, actually, do you know what? It's hotels. I want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, hotels was always, my mother actually and I discussed it, not so much my father. My father was very keen for me to be in the army. He loved the idea. I was the only soldier in my family, which is a big family. So he was very proud of that and so on. But
were you a misbehaved child? Is that what it was? What is you, for discipline?
Possibly. And I will go back on that in a minute because being in the army actually taught me a lot of different things, which I can apply to every day here. But my mother was key, actually. She told me when I was younger, I said, look, I can see the army being good for you, but I think hotels is more for you, in terms of the social aspect of, being with people. And she observed me when I was young in these parties, and she felt that it was the right thing for me. And she was 100% right. So chatting to her about this whilst I was deciding what I wanted to do when I was 21, 20 years old, really, I think, made me understand that this is the right path for me. And looking back, she was 100% right. It was 100% the right decision. I couldn't be happier doing what I do every day, as I said to you earlier. And it's been an amazing journey. But what I will say, though, about my army years is that I credit my leadership abilities, if any, and capabilities with that early start in life where at the young age of 20 years old, you have to command the respect of men and women that have been to war theaters, that have been to traumatic areas of the world, and you have to command respect very quickly.
Yeah.
So what it taught me at a very young age, which is unusual for an 19, 20-year-old man or woman, by the way, is to lead from the front, lead by example. If you're going to do 20 push-ups, I will do 22 push-ups. If you're going to run 10 miles, I will run 15 every single day. So there is a physical and mental toughness and resilience that you develop being in the army so young, particularly in commando, Marines, and where you're put through your real physical and mental paces every day. That I learned I could go to places that most people actually around the world don't even know they can, because they're not put through that process and rigorous lifestyle. We drop you here, and then in 7 days you have to be here. No food, no water. See you later.
Right.
And in many ways, some of the management challenges that we have and experience as managers later on in life, in whatever business you work in, by the way, that resilience you need to have, that decision-making process, the ability to inspire others, and so on, I put down to these early years of my life, actually.
Right, I can see that.
And then you put that in practice this every day, and you perfect it, you tone it, you change it, but along the way you learn with experience. But actually, you walk into a room to command the room, you have to have a certain ability.
Yeah.
And it's not for everyone either, by the way.
No.
So in many ways, it was a perfect start for me. And interestingly, thanks to my army years again, I would suggest that to command, to lead and to run a 5-star hotel or a top company that performs really, really highly, you also need to have that mental discipline and that rigorous approach to excellence and quality every day. And again, the army teaches that very, very quickly and very young.
Yeah.
If you work in the right environments. So, and look, a 5-star hotel is a bit like a regiment. You have uniforms, you're on time or you're late, your shoes are clean or not clean, the bed is made perfectly or not, that cupboard is tidy or not tidy, whatever, right? And again, my approach to work every day is similar. So I go into cupboards on the beds and check things because it's either right or wrong. Yeah. And you correct these things and you lead by example in that way.
As somebody once said to me, once you learn attention to detail, you can't unlearn it. You have it. You've got it.
And in fact, you tend to then work harder towards perfection, which you never achieve, sadly. But that's kind of that journey, And at that level of hotels or restaurants or bars or service, it's actually quite a thrilling aspect of the job, even though you also have to be able to enjoy the present moment and celebrate success as and when it happens. So whilst that pursuit of excellence is never finished or completed, you also got to appreciate that along the way, you have these milestones you achieve individually, with teams, with hotels, restaurant, bars, that you have to celebrate and, pat the team on the back and that kind of thing,
Yeah, massively important. As we were talking about before we switched the microphone on, the need for positivity is there in the world right now. So, absolutely celebrate the success when it comes along as well. There's actually something that just flicked into my head as you were talking about that concept of being dropped somewhere and then being told to be somewhere else in 7 days. In many ways, that's also reflective of business, right? I mean, because you kind of know your starting point and you know where you're trying to get to, but sometimes you don't necessarily know the path in how to get there. So in actual fact, teaching that skill quite early on, I would imagine must have had an impact in your ability to navigate stuff that happens.
You're 100% right. What's really interesting about what you just said, as I mentioned earlier, is that, and you can't do it on your own. Mm. So in these situations, it's a group of 5-10 men and women. You're dropped in point E and you're going to be there in point B in 7 days for pickup. along that 7 days, even though there is one leader in that team, actually, sometimes someone picks it up. You drop the ball, someone pick it up. Right, let's go another 20 miles that way. Hang on, this is not on the map. That landmark isn't here. We've made a mistake. What do we do? So some panic, some regroup, and in a team that runs a hotel like this, whilst I'm the managing director, I also rely massively on professionals and experts in their own fields to tell me what needs to be done. Now, I can decide ultimately what we do, but I rely tremendously on everyone to do that with me because you can't do it on your own. It's that simple. Because listen, we're all humane. Sometimes you're like, it's been a tough day. Do I want to? No, right, okay. Somebody else comes in and says, no. Listen, let's go back to the drawing board and let's just do a plan. And it's happened throughout my career. I mean, consistently, non-stop.
Well, it's probably one of the only things you can guarantee, right? Is that nothing is linear in life in terms of there's always going to be something that just pops up that you weren't expecting, wasn't in the business plan, anything along those lines.
What I've realized, though, despite what I've just said, is that as the leader, the MD or whatever, you cannot be the one that panics and that loses control.
Yeah.
So always ask for suggestions, opinions. Always ask for whatever you think they can bring to the party, but never be the one as the leader that loses its head, because then the trouble really starts.
Yeah.
For the team and therefore for the company and everything else.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's okay to be, to have a wobble and to be, but you can't be weak in that respect. You have to be the one that they come to for a shoulder to cry on, or something to vent about, or to be, and to say, listen, whoa, calm down. Let's just work this out together. This is what we're going to do, and let's implement. You can't be the one that crumbles.
Yeah. Well, the only thing you can really control in a situation like that is how you react, right, and how you respond to the stuff that's happening. Ted Twally has been on the show from Fox Hills. He had a wonderful line, which is just easily summarised by when you step up into a leadership position whereby you are leading leaders, and maybe you've got this sort of question mark in your head whether you're ready for that and all that kind of thing, which maybe comes to everybody as they make that step up. It's just his advice was own your shit. So just own your decisions, own it, and as you said, you've got to have the courage of your conviction around it as well.
And if you're wrong, you're wrong.
Yeah,
it's that simple.
Yeah.
People will respect you a lot more if they see it's not about being fragile or weak. It's about being honest and transparent. I was wrong decision. Let's go back to your plan. Maybe it was the better solution, and let's explore it.
Yeah.
Simple as that. And people will have a lot of respect for leaders that actually have a very transparent and honest view of everything that is done or should be done or whatever. Absolutely.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. This is fast turning into a leadership podcast, but we should go back to your story. Although I could probably talk to you about this all day, to be honest. I love it, picking the brains of people who who are at the helm of a world-class hotel in the centre of London. It's not often you get a chance to find out what goes on behind the eyes in people like you. So I'm very, very grateful for you sharing that. But back to your story.
Yep.
So we're still at the beginning, really, of your journey.
Yeah, so came to England, studied, did my placement at Grosvenor House, Forte Hotel, and then my journey really started there, where from then on I went to actually the Café Royal when it was a Meridian property after the 40 years.
Yeah.
It was the old Café Royal, which was, as you probably remember it, this very grand place where you had a mixture of nightclubs, bars, restaurants, and huge banqueting rooms. We do events of about 2,000 people over 6 floors. China White nightclub used to be here.
Yeah, God.
Cheers. That might remind you a few of the nights that you've had when you were younger. Or younger, I should say.
Indeed. Yes.
Cheers in a corner, which is now Cakes and Bubbles. So that was that sort of American joint from the TV show, if you remember.
Yeah.
And Café Daniels. I mean, yeah, it was the years of the Café Royal at its grandeur kind of thing, Then from then on, the director of the place, and I was number 2 here, went to Dorchester. So I followed him there and was there for 3 years doing both events and eventually F&B management. Great schooling at Dorchester, with Dolly Jenkins in food and beverage, who's, one of the people that I learned from a lot of different things in my younger years. She's now GM at Coworth Park, of course,
Indeed,
at Dorchester Collection.
One of life's characters.
There's a bunch of kids like me that went through the Zoe schooling, and we're all in different places now, but fondly remember the years of working with Zoe. I think she's great GM and great leader in many ways.
She's one of a kind.
Yeah, absolutely right. From then on went to The milestone at Recognition, I was the manager for a while and really liked it actually, but was poached by Jumeirah. So I wasn't really looking for a job as such when I was at the milestone and Recognition with Jonathan Raggett and so on. They get great people and great team and great owners. But Jumeirah approached me to be the director of F&B at the Carlton Tower.
Yeah.
Which I felt gave me a reach into a more international, bigger corporation at the time. So joined there, was there for 2.5 years with Derek Pico as a GM there.
You're dropping some names here.
Great 2.5 years. And again, you take from different leaders, different qualities, and sometimes the things you would do and the things you wouldn't do, right? But Derek was a very, very strong in P&L and finance, and I learned a lot in that respect. So operationally, I learned a lot from Zoe, standards and quality. From Derek, I learned a lot more about the aspects of P&L and understanding the contribution of division departments into, of course, GOP and profitability and what it means.
Yeah.
And 1% is always important. However, 1p, average spend, whatever. So that was an interesting schooling with him. And after that, I worked with one of my great mentors, Philippe Leboeuf, who was GM at Claridge's. Again, you have to have luck in your life. And I think I've had a tremendous amount of it. People say, yeah, you generate your own luck. I'm not sure. You have to be at the right place at the right time. And that's kind of where I was at Claridge's. Philippe took me on. He didn't have a hotel manager at the time, which meant that inevitably, because I wanted to always be a GM and an MD of a five-star hotel, I kind of propelled myself into that role. Even though I was director of F&B, he kind of let me take on a lot of responsibilities beyond that. And a good leader lets keen people do that well. And Philippe is tremendous in that respect. Now, of course, MD at Raffles, as you know. And gave me a lot of freedom to do a lot of different things for the hotel beyond F&B. And that was a great schooling, great learning again. More about how to be a great host, how to be the person that welcomes you into your house, as opposed to a professional welcoming a guest. It was also about really that he said it himself, that aubergiste, running an inn rather than a five-star hotel.
Right.
That person that has 2 or 3 hats, but he's always going to be there to say, how are you, welcome back, welcome, all that kind of thing. Genius in that respect.
Yeah. Do you think that is, I don't want to say a dying art?
No, it's a lost art.
Right.
Not dying.
Yeah.
Some of us still love doing it,
yeah.
and I'm very proud and conscious of it. So it's not dying. I think it's more maybe forgotten about or lost.
Yeah.
But it comes back inevitably with the young leaders that I now work with now in my team. I'm very conscious to ensure that they learn that.
Yeah.
First and foremost, you're here for the guests. Everything else is a waste of time. So if you can't do that first, do something else.
Yeah.
If you think you can do something else, then do it. Because this is really at the heart of what we should do every single day. Every decision we make, every penny you spend, every whatever you do, has to be to make the guest happy, which means therefore they become your ambassador, they return, they talk about you, and so on.
Yeah.
So it's a very simple concept that has been sometimes forgotten about.
Do you think that's been forgotten about because, let's be frank, the hospitality scene in London, as we sit in this at this point in time, has exploded in the last 10, 15 years. But with that then comes the desire for people who are not necessarily coming from hospitality backgrounds, but see it as an opportunity to, make some money or whatever, are not coming at it with the same angle. They're coming at it with the money-making element.
Possibly, but without the client or the guest, there is no money making.
Yeah.
Right? So if there is a doubt in anybody's mind that should be the concept originally, then just look at that way.
Yeah.
Who is paying the bill? Who is paying the wages of my staff? Who is paying the food I'm buying in every day for the restaurant and the bars? The guest.
Yeah.
So if there was a doubt in anybody's mind, then rethink it. Now, how as leaders we then deliver a sounder GOP and EBITDA to the owners is our responsibility, right? How we deliver that back to the ownership is very important, of course. So we can't be just great hosts and not run a business properly. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that...
That's what we've been doing wrong.
What I'm saying is this, is that, listen, scrutinize your P&L line by line, ask the right questions, talk to the right people, but essentially, if you could not please the guests by having a motivated team that wants to do the same as you do every day, which is excellence and so on, you will not have a sound financial model. Simple as that. So, like I said, if in doubt, always go back to that principle. And that's why I always, every single day, when I look at the DM log in the hotel, I talk to the time, 9 o'clock and 5 p.m. meetings I have with my teams here. Before you make a decision towards that guest, put yourself in that guest's shoe, first of all, and ask yourself what is the right thing for that guest to be done. And inevitably, you can do the right thing by thinking that way.
Yeah.
Sometimes a lot of hotels, hoteliers, MDs, GMs, whatever, will look at a judgmental approach to the guest and say, well, he did this and she did that and she said this and that. So I said, well, yeah, but there may be a reason why she or he said that and did that. But more importantly, we have an upset guest here. So why are they upset? Let's go. And then were we judgmental? And it's all about the DM. I don't want to get into too much detail because I don't want to bore you with it. But what I'm saying is that when I started here, the DM log was like, this case was very difficult. Well, that tone already is the wrong language. Maybe it was particular, but difficult, it wasn't. He just didn't get what he wanted. So ask yourself why he didn't, as opposed to judging and saying that it was difficult.
Yeah.
And I think what I do in my hotels is exactly that philosophy, which is don't be judgmental. Everyone is here to pay a very expensive rate, a meal, a drink. So consider that before you do anything else.
Yeah.
And our strength in reputation and our growth in reputation in the last 6.5 years I've been here, our reputation on social media comes essentially from that philosophy. And I'm a strong believer in it, and I will never change it. Because, again, I put who pays our livelihood at the center of everything that we do and say.
Yeah.
And look, TripAdvisor, when I started, we were 60 plus, now we're number 7, and I've been in first 10 for the last 5 years. All the outlets and departments and restaurants are in the top 10 in their categories. 6 years ago, guests would say, oh, it was a beautiful hotel, great bathrooms, wonderful furniture, great lobby. Now, all the reviews are about how wonderful Phil was at reception, how amazing Guillaume was in the bar, how friendly the housekeeper was. Oh, and by the way, bathrooms are amazing, location is great, and the hotel is superb, right?
Yeah.
That story only tells you the work we've done in that aspect, and for me, it's essential, and whoever has forgotten it, not dying as such, then needs to go back to that in a big way.
That's about, I suppose, setting a really, really solid foundation. And I totally get it. I totally get it. Because even just from the perspective of, with my consumer hat on, when I'm a guest, what are the things that I remember? Yeah, of course, if you're in beautiful surroundings, you're going to remember that. But it's actually, it's that old cliche around it's how people make you feel. And of course, it doesn't matter how good you are, there's always going to be something that can go wrong. Maybe the power goes out, maybe you lose water pressure, the things that you can't really plan for, but it is against what we talked about earlier on. It's about how you react to that, right? And
also how, in terms of don't be defensive, don't justify things, be honest and transparent. We had a power cut, okay? We'll make it right, don't worry. We will get it right for you. How gracious, kind, courteous, how much empathy you have, how much you want to listen to that guest and their frustration is what will dictate at the end of the day how successful you are. And my staff here, I'll give you one example, which is probably the best example I can give you. I recruit every member of staff that works in the hotel religiously. Why? For 2 reasons. First reason is that by the time they get to my office or meet me, they've gone through HR, HOD, and leader, manager, right? So they've met 3 people. If they're in my office and they're the wrong person, these 3 people are in trouble because they're like, why am I seeing the wrong people? So that allows me to judge how good we are recruiting and how good we are at that sort of gut feeling of getting the right person beyond technical skills and so on, which we can teach.
Yeah.
But all I do also is actually understand who that person is. I don't ask them how long they worked in. So I'm going to ask them, so where are you from? Do you have a cat? Do you have a dog? Sisters, brothers, friends, whatever it is? I understand who they are because when I see them in corridors a month later, that's what I'll talk about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How's the cat?
How's the cat? And the connection then is real. These are real people that we're dealing with. And we can teach them how to pour wine, how to make a bed all day. That's easy. What we can't teach them is to be someone that's going to talk to a guest in a corridor about that very freely and have the curiosity, the kindness to understand the guest well. And it also means I know everybody by name in the hotel. So 350 staff, I know them by name. So again, we are humans looking after humans, and it starts with that concept. And look, so far, it's worked really well for me and for my hotels and my teams, so I'm not going to change it.
Yeah.
And I think essentially it's at the heart, as I said earlier, of what we do, what we should do every single day. And whoever has lost that, or that dying art you mentioned earlier, isn't doing it, then they should start again.
Yeah. But I think that's the, excuse me, that's the same principle, I suppose. I've spoken about this on the show numerous times with a great deal many people. around the fact that actually when all said and done, actually what we do is quite simple in its concept, but you break it down into basically just doing authenticity well and doing the things that sing to you well and the things that are important to you well. And then when that happens, all of the other stuff that you need to be successful comes as part of what you're doing at the beginning. And that's basically, I suppose, what you're saying speaks to that in terms of, you're putting the guest at the heart and soul as to your reason for being here. And the reason for that is because they're the ones that without them, there is no business, ultimately. So, you look after them and then everything else will come as part of that process. But I suppose then it's the nuances is around getting that foundation set right. And your message comes down through the team so that they're able to then deliver that.
But, following on to what I just said, then once they're recruited, then they come in induction here. Always come to the first of induction to welcome them back because I've met them at the interview a month, 2 months, whatever before.
Yeah.
And I tell them these exact words. I say to them, look, welcome. You could have chosen 15 hotels to work in London. I'm delighted you chose to work here and thank you for joining us. It's very important for me that you're here because you're all great people, right, so to speak, etc. And then I say, look, we're going to teach you over the next 2 days a lot of different things about health and safety and culture and da-da-da-da-da. But I want you to remember one thing, if anything, is that your sole purpose of being here in this hotel, I don't know about the other 15, is to make your guests and your colleagues happy. If everything you say, text, WhatsApp, email about, contributes to this picture, we will win every single day. If you can't do that, you can't work here. It's very simple. So warm welcome, enjoy your journey with us, focus on that. Every single day when you think, why am I here? Tell yourself you're here to make the guests and your colleagues happy, if in doubt. And we've gone a long way by doing this religiously and well.
Brilliant. Yeah. Super. Anyway, back to your story.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. No, this is what I love. This is the richness of everybody's journey is different. Everybody learns something groundbreaking, with every journey that we speak to. So
I'm Nat Claridge's, and very unselfishly, Philippe Leboeuf, my GM at the time, tells me, listen, Guillaume, there is a hotel manager role at the Connaught that's opened up, and I think you should go for it. Again, great leaders allow their people to pursue opportunities as and when they happen. And again, I do the same now with my guys, very important. So, went to the Connaught manager. I was there for just under 2 years. Again, amazing property. And essentially my first number one role, because there wasn't a GM there for about 10, 11 months when I was there. So I was left with the CEO, Stephen Alden, another great mentor, and the owner, of course, Paddy McKinnon at the time, to run the hotel. And that was an amazing experience in every respect. Beautiful property, great location, amazing bars, great restaurants, amazing guests, super dedicated team. I mean, it was real special.
How did that feel, that moment when, I suppose it's one thing to be the hotel manager, next thing to, effectively be steering the ship.
Yeah. I welcomed it with open arms, of course. I mean, it was what I was dreaming about for and my plan was to be GM of a top hotel by the age of 40, so I was 38 at the time, whatever it was. Not that, by the way, you're thinking at the time, I've achieved what I want to achieve. No, I think it's later on in life when you look back. Because, in a very unpretentious way, I've not been doing what I wanted to do, but for more than 10, 15 years, not realizing that I'm doing it. You know what I mean? So you have a dream, a goal, you achieve that goal without really taking stock of it. You carry on doing it, and then you say, actually, no. And now when I hear younger guys, but Mr. Malley, I worked for you 10 years ago there, and you helped me do this, and you helped me do that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, these are the way I looked at my mentors and leaders, previously. So it's a lovely thing to realize, first of all, without understanding and knowing at the time kind of thing. Anyhow, so yeah, the Connaught was very special because it was my first number one proper role, I would suggest. And look, I've been very lucky because I don't think I've ever looked for a job. I've always been called for this job. So again, luck, circumstances, right place, right time, whatever. The chairman of the Ritz at the time contacted me to then become the hotel manager at the Ritz as well, after the Connaught. And look, as a hotelier, to be the person that's going to be working in a hotel that César Ritz opened in 1906 and be the 7th or 8th person to run it was one of these, pinch yourself kind of moments.
Yeah. When you put it like that, I mean, I'd never even really contemplated that.
And that's what I didn't realize it either until I went there. So that was a real special moment. I was there for 3 years, working for the Barclays at the time, the owners. and very different. You walk around the Ritz and everything is beautiful and ritzy and glitzy and that kind of stuff, and it's of course I knew it well, and the Paris Ritz is similar too, so there's nothing new to me in terms of walking around, but the fact that you have to be humble so to realize that sometimes you're really lucky. So I felt very privileged and lucky to be where I was.
5-star hospitality means having the right people in the right place at the right time, and that's exactly where RotaCloud can help. RotaCloud is the online platform that makes planning rotas, recording attendance, and managing annual leave easy. Its simple, drag-and-drop interface lets you create and share rotas with your team in minutes, while our built-in budgeting tools mean you'll know exactly how much you're spending on staffing before sending the rota out. RotaCloud also makes life easier for your staff, allowing them to check their rotas, request time off, and pick up extra shifts, all through the RotaCloud mobile app. Start your 30-day free trial today by visiting rotacloud.com/Phil and find out how much easier managing your team can be.
So that was the Ritz. And then when I was running the Connaught, actually, I also met André Balaz, who, of course, is the owner of Chiltern Firehouse. And when I was at the Connaught, he used to stay there whilst working on the project that then became the Chiltern Firehouse.
Right.
So that was his house in London until he opened the hotel.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
There we are.
He lived there. Yeah, he lived there until Chiltern opened.
Not a bad house.
And I was, of course, his host, right?
Yeah.
So I met him a lot, and he saw how I managed the hotel. I was very present in the operation all the time, still do to this day, actually. And therefore, unbeknown to me, he had me contacted probably 6 months before the opening of Chiltern Firehouse to have a coffee with him at next door to the Ritz, the restaurant at Wolseley.
Right.
That coffee became a lunch, which extended to be a dinner because we spent hours talking to each other. I mean, André is by far, and I mean by far, the most creative, positively crazy character I've ever encountered in my entire life. Genius.
Yeah.
So André never taught me how to run a hotel because, without sounding arrogant about it, because it's not the idea, but I know how to run a hotel well. What André did is actually introduce me to the world of feeling, design, mood setting, lighting, music. I'll sum it up in a couple of sentences. André said, Guillaume, you recruit for hotels, don't you? I'm like, oh, yeah, of course we all do. He goes, no, but I cast. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Then he goes, in your hotel you have uniforms, don't you? I said, yeah, but I have costumes in my hotels. And I was like, that very subtle change in positioning and wording, however corny this may sound, was actually quite revealing in how he sees things. Different lengths, different, And so what I learned at Chiltern Firehouse whilst opening it, which was insane, by the way, but an amazing project. I don't think I slept more than 4 hours per night for about 18 months.
Wow, right.
For all the right reasons, because that busy and crazy, right?
I was going to say, and probably you were quite passionate about making
and
a success.
It's intoxicating, you just couldn't leave because it was, it was crazy. But André was an absolute genius when it came to lighting and music settings and the moods. And Chiltern Firehouse is the only place in the world, to this day for me, where I can walk in at any time of the day, say it's 9 p.m. for a drink in the bar. I will meet Phil straight for a chat like this. We'll have a couple of drinks and tequila, whatever it is, and then talk. You look at your watch next time and it's 6 a.m. and you think, oh my God, what happened?
Right.
It's the only place in the world that for me has that ability to transport you, to make you forget who you are, why you're here, by meeting different people, different generations, doing different things and so on, because of the mood that he created with the right music, the fireplaces, the genius. And that taught me another layer of being a good hotelier or a good host or whatever it is, which I didn't know. I was a very classic hotelier before working for, Ritz, Connaught, Claridge's, Dorchester, blah, 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 and so
great
on.
grounding, as we've discussed.
Amazing grounding as a hotelier, the best, like delighted and privileged and happy. But that extra layer of understanding how to create something, not just run it, was very special, actually.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So now I don't see myself as a designer. I'm not a designer, but I know instantly when I walk somewhere into a restaurant or bar, whatever, whether it's too bright or the wrong cushions or for me or whatever,
Yeah.
And I want to stay here or not stay here. If I don't stay here, something's wrong, right?
Yeah.
Essentially. So that was interesting. And that also gave me a bit of a insight into the lifestyle luxury rather than just a pure classic luxury. I was at Chiltern Firehouse, and then the Melia company was looking for a GM for London, as well as someone that could help overseeing the brand and opening other hotels for the Me brand around the world. Initially, I wasn't quite sure because I didn't know it very well at the time. I should have, but I didn't. I went to visit the hotel, and Norman Foster designed beautiful atrium, and actually I fell in love with the product, even though it was not really something that I would have considered otherwise if I'd not seen it, if you know what I mean, on paper.
And very different, again, from anywhere else that you've worked from a design perspective.
But I like the lifestyle element. I like design. The rooftop was fun, the radio bar there. The ACK restaurant was a bit crazy again, but what it needed at the time is reputation growth. How do you change the perception of, from the outside world as being a busy but kind of, low-rated hotel, if you like, so to speak. Elevate the experience to make it more of a refined, sophisticated place to work at. So that was interesting to me. And I was there for just under 3 years. And we did a lot of good work in that respect, and how we positioned the hotel, and who should stay and shouldn't stay, and that kind of stuff, and who we're trying to attract.
Yeah.
So that was, again, another different aspect of learning for me.
Yeah, I think
and implementing
skill into the already quite well-stocked skill set. But
there's
always something
I love learning, and I think, again, as a leader, learning from other people, other companies, other whatever else, you have to be curious, and you have to want to study and observe and be honest about what that means, i.e., they're better than us. What are they doing that's better than us? Let's not think they're better than us, no. I want to be better than them, so let's go and explore and understand, right? And then bring it back, kind of thing, or change it, whatever.
Yeah.
So I think to be a good leader, you also need to have that curiosity and that wanting to learn, always understanding, as I said earlier, that pursuit for excellence is never over. So what else can we do to change the business, to increase the standard, to improve the quality? You can celebrate, but never rest, right? That sort of element of what we do. So I was there for 3 years, and then again, Stephen Holden, who was the CEO at the time of the Set Hotels, who was my boss, of course, at Mayborn.
I was going to say, here we are again.
Many years ago. Told me, listen, Guillaume, we're looking for an MD here at Café Royal, and I only want to talk to you about it, frankly. And I'm like, okay, well, that's great. I mean, I'm flattered, of course, and let's have a cup of coffee and tea. Again, my perception from the Café Royal was different. I came in, had a look at it. Of course, great hotel, amazing history. I knew the building very well from before, of course.
Yeah.
And I'd been to since the opening and everything else. But I felt it was a bit confused and didn't quite know what it was doing and since the opening. So I told him my thoughts, very transparently. And he said, well, exactly. So we need someone like you to come in and sort it.
Right.
I said, okay, I'll think about it. And it took me about half an hour to think about it because that's what I needed. Because, again, the potential of the property, the location of the hotel, what he and then therefore we had in mind was great. So new lobby was done in 2018 when I started. 2017 I started, but 2018 was... Look, a lot of parts were wrong. So the design in the rooms and suites were wrong, lacked warmth. So we tackled that very quickly by adding things in there that made them a lot more livable as opposed to stable. So you want to live there rather than stay there. Two different things again.
Yeah, subtle
wording, how you kind of position that. The lobby was very small at the time, and we told the owners, listen, we need a grand sense of arrival. If we want to compete against the big boys and the big girls of London, then we need to give ourselves the tools and the chances to do so. And right now, if you arrive at Claridge's, it's a wonderful lobby, a legendary lobby. Like, everybody knows Claridge's lobby, right? Mm. Nobody knows yours and ours. Why? Because it's non-eventful. So we need to change that. So now it's a beautiful lobby, a grand entrance on Air Street, driver comes through, all that kind of stuff, right? So we tackle the rooms and design, we tackle the lobby, which is very important. And then a lot of different spaces did a lot of different things. So we had also a members club on the first floor, which didn't work really well. So I said, let's just close that and do something else with it. So we closed it and made it sort of more ordinary restaurant, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So sort of big lounge area of the hotel, which is always going to have somebody in because people are having a cup of tea, a breakfast, and whatever else, a meeting. The grow room at the time used to be a afternoon tea / bar / late night venue. So again, from the outside, you're not quite sure why would you come here.
Yeah.
So I said, listen, let's just be clear. Let's make it the Palm Court, if you like, or the foyer, if you like, of Claridge's of the Ritz, where we serve grand, beautiful British afternoon tea. We know to do this very well from my days of other hotels, and now we have a wonderful, successful, money-making afternoon tea in there. It's a beautiful room, by the way. I mean, the grill, 1865, it's original, it's been there forever, and it's we'll have a look at it on the way down. It's stunning. I mean, it's like, wow,
Yeah.
unbelievable. There's a pianist in there. So again, had all the ingredients to make that work. We've now been doing afternoon tea for the last 6 years, and he's doing really, really well. The cafe that is on the street there, on Regent Street, which is really the window of the hotel. So when you walk on Regent Street and you see now what is called Cakes and Bubbles, it used to be a cafe called, I can't remember, I think Papillon.
That's right. Yeah.
But again, didn't deliver when it to deliver. So
It's actually it's a good point you make. Actually, just from a real simplistic perspective, like unless you know this is here, you don't know it's here.
correct.
So and I'd imagine the discretion is actually a really wonderful point of the place. But equally, as you say, you want people to kind of be peering and going, oh,
Yeah, what's going on?
So it's that in there.
Shall we walk in there? Exactly right.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. So Cakes and Bubbles, now we brought Albert Adria, who had done a pop-up restaurant the summer before. He's a great friend of ours.
I don't think anybody's really heard of him.
Again, so to compete against big boys and big girls, so to speak, we needed to bring world-class chefs.
Yeah.
Started with Albert Adria, 2018. Cakes and Bubbles, and now it's successful, doing really well. We have one world-class chef working with us. COVID then happened, so 2020, so that was different. And then after COVID, I wanted to also bring a real Michelin star chef to the hotel, which of course you know well, Alex Zilling. Alex was looking for a restaurant to open on his own after the Greenhouse, where he gained 2 Michelin star, before Hélène Darroze, as you know, and everything else. I mean,
Yep.
Great guy, great team. Pierre as well is head chef. Really, really good people that are absolute freaks about amazing food, which is I am too, so marriage made in heaven.
Yeah.
Positive freaks, that is.
Yes, indeed. I know that. Absolutely. I know Alex.
I hasten to add. And therefore, showed him the place, his kitchen, his restaurant, and I mean, wonderful. We gained 2 Michelin star 8 months after the opening, and look, it's a superb addition to what we needed for the hotel. And again, when you look from the outside, if you're going to stay in London as a wealthy French, American, English man and wife, or whatever it is you want, and you've got a choice of 15 top hotels, where do you go? So you go where there is, of course, great restaurants and bars. It's tick. Great spa. We have an amazing spa here. 18-meter pool underground. I mean, it's a stunning venue, so tick.
Yeah.
Great service and quality, tick. And then a sense of arrival and everything else. So suddenly, all the components and the parts have become right to then compete against the best. So after 6.5 years, we've been in a position now where we do knock on everyone's doors and compete against the best. There's still some way to go. As I said, the work is never finished,
Of course.
right? But our progress in reputation, quality and excellence, growth financially, it's been tremendous. The team has done an amazing job in the last 6.5 years I've been here. Really with some good people. Stability too was important. I'm the 4th MD here in 11 years, and I've been here 6.5. So again, doesn't matter why and how, but a team needs to have a leader in position that can organize, stabilize, listen, change, move things around that they understand, and clarity. I find transparency is key for
Yep.
people to stay where they want to stay, because when it's confusion and moving parts all the time, then it's really frustrating. When there is clarity and a vision, which is the one I described earlier, while we're here, how are we going to do it? Then people enjoy that. Knowing, to your point, that life is never perfect. There's a hurdle here which someone will stumble, we'll pick them up. Come on, let's go, let's run again,
Yeah.
And that element has been our success, really, in the last few years.
Yeah, I think the stability point is probably under discussed, really, in general terms. I always look at, I'm a sports fan and massive football and Liverpool fan.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect. It's okay.
What's your...
Think about it.
Oh, it's going to be Arsenal, isn't it?
Well, voilà.
Yeah, you guys are on fire at the moment.
No,
anyway,
but the
that's-
French team played with them,
Yeah, that's right. But I always look to Klopp for leadership inspiration. Yeah. And I think a lot of what he's done beyond all of the sort of extracurricular things that are very Klopp-ish, if that's a term, is stability, and actually this is what I think football clubs don't do particularly well these days, is that the minute
knee-jerking.
The minute there's a problem, let's just get rid of the manager. And that's what I feel in some ways, coming back to hospitality, is that the MDs and the GMs of hotels are effectively like football managers. And that's what owners generally do if things are not quite working. Let's just change the manager. But sometimes that can have the exact opposite effect as to what you actually really need.
I agree, and I also think sometimes staying somewhere too long can also be adverse. Not in every case, but yeah, at that level, 5 years plus is what you need to generate, and again, in broad terms, a real culture change and achieve the results from that.
Yeah.
You can't just turn around the ship like this in 6 months. It's impossible. So yeah, to your point, similar to football clubs, whatever else, I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned earlier on, I'll just touch upon this very, very quickly, but you set the goal to be a GM before you're 40, as it were. Was that a goal that you had in your head the minute that you decided that hospitality was for you? Or was that something that came to you as you started progressing?
A bit later on, I think I started late, actually, because the army in some ways delayed my start in that career, but it also, I guess, accelerated my leadership abilities later on in life. So, it doesn't matter. So I started to properly work when I was 25, 26 years old, which in this business is quite late, even though I did placements and stage and whatever else before that. I grew quite quickly through the ranks for, I hope, the right reasons. So by the age of 30, I was a director, sort of level kind of thing in companies, but I always knew that I wanted to run a five-star hotel. That I knew from day one. Then afterwards, maybe 5 years later, so 32, 33, I was director of food and beverage somewhere, and I'm thinking, well, it's realistic for me now to assume or pursue the idea that if I'm 32 now, director of F&B, I'm going to do maybe this one more time, 35 to 38, I'll be hotel manager, number 2, director of operations, and then GM by 40. So it was more about, if it'd been 42, I'd been fine, by the way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was more, this allowed me to shift the gears a little bit, but also to make the right decisions.
Yeah.
Knowing that I would be happy to delay that if it was for the right hotel. I've always inspired by special properties, sometimes above the position that I was going for or whatever else. I have to really be in love with the project to fully embrace it. And all the ones I've been lucky to manage or work in or at in my career have always been projects of passion and love, first and foremost.
Yeah.
Why? Because I realized for my personality that this love drives my energy tenfold. So being the MD of I hate the word lesser, a different hotel, does not inspire me. Being the CEO of a lesser property or group does not inspire me. In fact, if that was one of your questions, are you, what's next for you? I've been approached in the past to run groups and so on. I don't think that's what I'm made for.
Right.
I think I've made myself made to run hotels. Why? Because I love people, I love teams, I love corridors, I love back of house, I love the smell of coffee and croissant in the morning in a bakery at 7 a.m. I like greeting a guest at 10 p.m. when they arrive late because they don't expect me to be here too much. And I realize that what I love doing is what needs to drive me as opposed to an ambitious desire to be the CEO of I don't know, Mayborn or whatever.
Yeah. But I think that in itself is a really powerful message, because I think maybe self-awareness is a wonderful byproduct of life experience, that you're able to look at yourself and know what you really, really love and what drives you, because you've worked in a lot of, you've name dropped some amazing places that you've worked through and worked for great people as well, who would have all imparted something onto you in that time. But actually, when all's said and done, and this is something that's come to me I want to say, I'm still a young man, but as I'm getting older, is that actually the things that make me happy are the things that give me the energy to do something really, really well. And so to kind of understand that, one, not everybody can become a CEO in any case, but to understand what really, really drives you, I think is just a wonderful message. I always remember having a chat with the great Harry Murray on this very show, and him knowing that he only ever really wanted to be a general manager. He had no aspirations to become an ops director or multi-property, because the thing that really drove him was the guest interaction, was working with the team on making something better and all of that. And I really loved that. And it's something that has stuck with me, because I think a lot is made of make progress, reach for the top. But actually, it's not about that. It's about finding your happy place whilst, I suppose, finding your real ceiling.
Yeah, and you can still do this in different ways, but I'm older, I'm 53. So I have maybe the luxury of also understanding. Yeah, I think my levels of self-awareness were always quite strong, actually, from a young age. And therefore, once I decided what I want to do, then I think this is the path I wanted to do. Doesn't mean the plans can't change, though. I think along your life, as you know very well, what you wanted to do 20 years ago may be different to what you're doing today.
Yep.
But I think at my age now, I realize in a very exciting, happy way that this is what I love doing. So do I want to jeopardize that and compromise it? I could, and try things out to do something else. But I'm going to miss what I do so much, doing so potentially, that it prevents me from looking at these things, differently.
Yeah.
Now, for now anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned sense of arrival. This is something that I think, again, well, maybe it is spoken about widely, but it's, again, something that came to me late. And I only realized it once upon a time when I went on holiday to a place in Greece randomly. And the sense of arrival in this place was, it was an atrium that looked straight out to sea, glass both sides, and you just arrived and went, wow. And I hadn't really contemplated the importance of that setting the tone, really, as for somebody who comes and is probably paying good money to stay in a place like this. But actually, the importance of setting the tone, really, on your guest stay.
Yeah, and look, we always tell people, the doorman, you're the first and last thing people see. Of course, it's very important, and it is crucially important to be welcomed by a friendly face. Ideally knows your name, etc. Of course, but this is the unforgettable piece, that's a Chiltern Firehouse. All the things you can add to contribute, improve that feeling, have to be considered when you build a hotel. So beyond having a great doorman welcoming you to the hotel, welcoming you back, what do you enter into, and what does that look and feel like and smell like, for that matter? What's the next corridor? So that journey is very important. And actually, there's a hotel in Crete I go to, which has the same. You drive up the hill. It's called Acro Suite. It's Acro in Greek means on the edge of, and the hotel is adults only spa. I go once a year just to shut down and literally resort. Upgrade if you like.
Yeah, good. Yeah,
and
I like that.
And then you just walk into and look at the sea and the rocks, and instantly the troubles and of the world, if any, leave you and disappear.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah. So a lot of things contribute to that feeling: lighting, music, people, uniforms, costumes, whatever, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the more things you can add to this experience, the sensory experience of a stay or an arrival in a hotel like ours, is very, very important. And sometimes people look at it, but the home is not. No, listen. Do not underestimate the impact of all these things you add together to create an experience. Knowing though that at the end of the day, the human one is the most important.
Yeah.
Without, in my view, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
All the others contribute. Because, look, when you arrived in Greece, that would have been an amazing experience, arrival, but then if everything else after that isn't great...
It did, yes, pointless.
It defeats the point, right?
Yeah.
So it's an addition of all these things that is important, but the human element is the most, and it's an obvious thing to say, is the most important.
Yeah.
Consistently.
Well, I think that speaks to that concept of, you can forgive an awful lot that's gone wrong if you feel like you've been heard, and, people have made you feel special in that time where everything else has gone wrong around it, then that's you will still remember it as a positive experience.
Yeah, and as you said earlier, the light bulb might go off. We changed it yesterday. It went off today. Okay, so we're not neglecting the product. It just happened, but we'll change it within a second.
Yeah,
and we'll make it right. And how gracious, quick, receptive we are to this is very important. People will remember the light bulb, but they remember we change it quickly enough, and who they spoke to that resolved the issue and nicely, and so on. So no, it's But yeah, no, the Chiltern was that element of adding all these pieces together. I mean, I remember, I don't, again, bore you too long, but there were in a restaurant 25 light settings.
Really?
25.
Right.
From 5 p.m. to whatever time in the morning. Andre would come in and say, Guillaume, is it on 17 or 18 right now? I'd be like, listen, I have no idea. I'm hoping it's 18, but frankly, I have no idea. But the guy knew, just
right.
It needs to be a notch up, a notch down. Music is a bit too loud. People can hear themselves talking, which is okay, but really, they should speak loud enough, because it's loud enough for them to hear themselves, but making the effort to. So the restaurant feels like a busy place, and it was, by the way. Just these things that were so subtle, but genius. Mm. And that place, I go twice a month still to this day, is rocking every night.
Yeah, well.
On a Sunday to Saturday.
Shows you when you get it right that people will come.
But So this was a real. This is Andre. We delivered the operational aspect of it, but Andre was the real mind behind it.
Yeah. Brilliant question I like to ask everyone who comes on the show. I mean, you've worked in some quite remarkable places. There's bound to be some stories from your time. I know a lot of them you won't be able to share because of the
Quite right.
the written rule of discretion. But are there any stories from your time so far that you can share? That
Yes, I won't tell you where and when, but listen, there are some amazing stories, both in terms of staff doing the beyond amazing, service-wise and so on. But I think more about requests. I remember one guest who was from a prominent royal family of a country, which will remain nameless.
Very good, nicely done.
And his daughter was watching.
Well, you've narrowed it down already.
Good luck.
Gonna start making notes.
An animal program on Saturday morning on BBC One, I'm guessing at the time. And he came down to the concierge desk and said to the concierge, "Listen, I want to buy 2 monkeys for my daughter because she saw them on TV. We have a zoo back home, and she wants to have these in her zoo."
My God.
So the concierge called me and said, "Mr. Miller, I've got a bit of a request. Would you mind coming down and talking to the guest?" So went down, met the guest, of course, who I knew, and he mentioned again his desire. To the disbelief of the concierge, my question was more about, well, what kind of monkeys? Because can we start with that? Because of course we can get you monkeys. In my head, I'm thinking, oh my God, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
But I'm casually telling him, so happened to be orangutans. Now, these are protected animals, but of course there was a Borneo program, and then the daughter said, "Oh, I want," anyway, blah, blah, blah. So, cut a long story short, we made different phone calls. We spoke to different organizations, different, nearly governmental, because of course, protected, species and so on, what you can and can't do, the things you can and won't or whatever, etc.
Yeah.
But we found out that by doing all the right calls and all that work, we could potentially get them what they wanted within a week, which shows you that at that level of dedication and commitment, when you tell yourself you can get something or can do it, you will.
Yeah.
Right? Unless it's illegal, then it's a different story.
Of
right?
course. Yeah.
But in that respect, we found out we could do it with the right da-da-da-da. So my concierge is super happy because he's saying, I can tell this gentleman that we can get that for him.
Yeah.
This is 9 a.m. in the morning. By the time we know we can do something, it's about 4 p.m. in the afternoon.
I mean, that's not bad.
No, that's outstanding work.
Yeah.
They did great work, actually, that team, in general. But that was probably the ultimate of what they did that I can remember. Anyway, so the gentleman comes back from going up beginning of the hotel. The concierge very proudly runs to him and say, "Your Royal Highness, we've done a lot of work, some good work, and we can do what you want us to do." His reply was this: "Don't worry, it's okay. She's changed her mind.
Oh, God.
She doesn't want them anymore." Now, to this day, that concierge and I joke about this, but what we, as I said earlier, what we really highlight is the fact that at that level of service delivery, of excellence, of everything is possible and no is not an option, and we will get it right, and for you as a guest, is sometimes what I use as an example, because nothing is impossible, provided like it's, and that you put your mind to it. And in a very silly way, a concierge might be asked, "I want a table for 2 tonight at this impossible restaurant to book at." I will never take no for an answer. I will call the owner of the restaurant myself if I have to. I will go there to get that table for that guest.
Right.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
And we will get it.
Yeah.
Period.
Well, I mean, once you've been able to get source monkeys for a member of the royal family.
Orangutans.
Yes, right, yes. There is a difference, isn't there? Yes. Then all bets are off, really, on what is and isn't possible. Fantastic.
So I couldn't send that to you on writing, when you asked me.
I'd much prefer talking about these things than seeing it on the written word. In any case, that's brilliant. Final question before I let you crack on with your day. But what 3 reasons would you give as to why somebody should consider hospitality as a career? Yeah.
I think it's an extremely rewarding environment to work in. There is something quite special about making people happy, and that only is rewarding. So, projecting that positivity around and making guests, people, your colleagues happy around you is something that everyone should get great joy out of. So in that respect only, being hospitable and friendly and gracious is a real beautiful thing to achieve and do every day. It's a big family. We talked about it earlier. It's a big family. And if you're hardworking and committed and dedicated and have integrity, which is key, then you can go very far by knowing the right people and working with or for the right people, and who therefore always promote you to their own properties or others because they respect you as a professional. So the world is your oyster in many ways, literally. Geographically, you can travel the world if you're the right person for the right job. go to any destination around the globe. Yeah, and the family aspect for me is very important. And you can start from the bottom and get to the top if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Again, not every industry job allow you that opportunity. But I think through being gracious, kind, have integrity, and being honest, hardworking and committed, you can achieve anything you want in this industry. And it's, as I said, you and I spoke about 10 people that we know in half an hour like this, just because it's a very small industry.
Yeah.
And a big family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Guillaume, thank you so much. It's been great to learn a little bit more about your journey so far. Still much work to do.
Thank you, and great to see you. Thank you.
Yeah, wish you all the very best with the next chapter.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And there we have it. I'm always grateful to get time with people like Guillaume, and I'll take that up a notch by being even more grateful for the lessons he shared with us throughout our chat. We'll be back as usual at 8 p.m. next Wednesday, but until then, have a great week, and we'll see you then.